What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to talk about what's going on with NIO stock, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about the earnings that just came out for Apple and Amazon, how they're so far moving, what happened to NIO going into today based off its technicals. But before breaking things down about what's going on with NIO, before I talk about what happened to Apple and Amazon, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 2 weeks, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Alright guys, so at the time I'm recording this, I can't really record this during the calls for Apple and Amazon. I need to record this video kind of early. And I need to mention this because so far we can talk about the EPS and revenues that came out, and things are looking quite interesting so far. Very, very mixed. We're seeing Coinbase, which is kind of flat. We saw Amazon, which is kind of green so far, and Apple went from green to red. Apple's actually dropping so far after missing on a couple of things. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But for now, looking at earnings, you can see right over here, Apple did beat on EPS and revenue, but there were specific things they missed on. Amazon right over here also did relatively well, beating and surprising by a long shot. Coinbase did okay, pretty good so far. We're still waiting for it, and we're going to be waiting for the earnings call too. Looking at Amazon, I just want to mention that you can see some numbers here. Net sales were a beat, EPS was a beat, their web services was a beat, operating margin was not bad. Everything else was quite good for them. But Apple, on the other hand, has something a little bit different. This is for Apple. EPS was a beat, revenue was a beat just barely, but the iPhone revenue is down 2% year over year. It's actually down on iPhone revenue. They missed on that. They also missed on iPad revenue, a little bit down on that. They're actually down 20% year over year, which is not a good sign. And the other products revenue is down overall. Gross margins just barely meeting expectations. So we're still waiting for the official guidance. This is going to be giving us more and more information, and we're going to learn more about what they say during their earnings call, which will start a little bit later. But for now, not the best of reports. Unemployment's coming out for tomorrow. We have some more data dropping. It's coming 1 hour before the market opens. We want this to be very close to the forecast, or else the market could get a big reaction. And as far as China goes, we can see right over here the world's first grid-scale sodium-ion battery project in China enters commercial operation. And this is technically good news for NIO and other companies out there involved in the battery space. The Chinese government is heavily invested into battery companies as well, trying to improve energy storage and their infrastructure. And by doing so, this is once again going to lead to more investments and more capabilities, which are improving the outcome and the infrastructure of the country itself, which is going to help NIO moving forward. So this was good news for battery swapping companies such as NIO. This was good news for the government, as the government has mentioned, has heavily invested in reducing their carbon emissions and trying to transition into cleaner energy. And as part of why NIO has been pumping, it's also because NIO had good deliveries. Volume, once again, 85 million. So we're still seeing the aftershocks of NIO's overall delivery report, doing over 20,000 deliveries in just a matter of a few weeks, just for the month of July in total, which is still bullish, and that's part of why NIO is holding up a lot better. Investors are not selling as drastically. The short volume is also dropping on relative to price. And finally, I want to add that there's nothing new in the data besides UBS being neutral on NIO. Price-price ratio is still elevated and still holding up here, which is showing some relative strength. But finally, if you look right here, we saw the short interest get reduced just a little bit, which led to some short covering. And then on top of this, there was a lot of shorting going on in NIO from before. Some shorts started to cover a bit, which helped NIO hold up. Besides that, you can see NIO has announced that on August 2nd, they launched their newest power swap station. This is basically very awesome for them in Europe, and they're continuing to grow more and more in Europe over there. They have 22 stations right over here, power swap stations, and then about 9 in just Europe alone. And once again, they have about 500,000 third-party chargers are also accessible in Europe. That's also complementary to the charging solution. So good news for NIO. Once again, this is going to be very interesting to see how this goes. I also want to add that I think down here we can also see something else that's interesting. NIO's numbers are actually very, very phenomenal. And because of that, I am seeing NIO holding up for the time being. But there may be some more volatility because of the news that came out. So if you look at their numbers, for the first time, NIO exceeded 20,000 deliveries in just a month. And this growth was very, very awesome to witness. So we could actually open this in a new tab and zoom in. If you want to see this one more time, because it's been some time since I last spoke about this. I mean, since the news came out, it's bullish for NIO as a whole. And whoops, I think I made a mistake here. Sorry about that, guys. And anyways, going back, I just wanted to fix this. NIO's numbers are still very, very good. You can see the 20,000 deliveries right about here. Once again, looking very awesome for them. And now I just want to add up to the facts that NIO is continuing to hold up very, very nicely. And things are looking very nice for them. They have a potential bullish structure developing. But I just want to remind everyone that what does concern me a little bit would be how earnings are kind of mixed. Apple is sinking. It's down 1% now. Apple just hit 187, is continuing to downtrend, whereas Amazon, on the other hand, is up about 7%, trying to push to the upside. So very mixed. Amazon might actually hold us up a little bit better since it's making a more volatile move. But we have to be very careful because Apple is bigger. Apple could have a bigger effect. So for NIO, we're going to be watching resistance at 15.86. If that breaks, we're going to be watching 16. If it breaks down, watch 15.18. If that fails, it's then just 14.5. The current technicals look more bullish on it, and as long as the market holds up, we could see NIO try to get to 16 tomorrow. But just to be safe, always be patient and wait and see what the price action tells you. So far, with the mixed earnings, there's a good chance that NIO may see a sideways day tomorrow with the market, and we could see it just fluctuate between support and resistance between these levels, back and forth and back and forth. Same thing with Tesla. Tesla's currently trying to fight for this 260 resistance. If it breaks this, 262.5 and then 265 become possible. If it breaks down, you're going to be watching 256 or so. We're still waiting for the earnings call. This is going to be very impactful for the whole market, so make sure you guys are very, very prepared for this and very, very careful nonetheless. And finally, for SPY in the QQQ, like I mentioned before, I mean, we're still waiting for it. We're still waiting for some big events. You can see when Apple started sinking, SPY sank down with it. It's very flat right now. We may see a sideways day tomorrow as, once again, Apple is slowing down, but Amazon's trying to pump. And then finally, for the QQQ, we can see right over here, the QQQ is so far trying to hold up. It's very, very flat as well, and we will see what effect Amazon and Apple could bring. So we're still waiting for the call. If anything, always be open-minded. If we break below 373, we're going to be watching for a test of 371 and 370. And if 370 fails, it's just 368, which is a possibility. If it breaks to the upside, you're going to be watching 376. If that breaks, 378 becomes a possibility as well, followed by 380. I'm just in the middle right now. We're still waiting for these big earnings calls to finish. They're going to be starting soon. So until the time comes, until all of this is done with, I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. We're going to be waiting to see how this all affects NIO, and I am predicting a very sideways day for NIO again. It might get a pop in the morning, testing like 16, drop down a little bit, and then close very, very flat. That's what tends to happen on days like this when we have mixed earnings. Coinbase is also down, res. Apple is also down, res. I'm sorry, like Amazon is the one that's up. We'll wait and see. And with that said, please have a great day, everyone. Let's see what happens with the calls, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening. NIO to the moon. Its long term is very bright, and peace out.